What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by Danklyfe brand and yours truly, Dallas Clark. Today, we're discussing Week 12, the stardoms and situms. At most, you got 3, maybe 4 games left in your fantasy football playoff hopes, and we are going to make the playoffs because, like I told you at the beginning of the year, this is the year that you hoist that trophy over those idiots in your fantasy football league. So like I said, we're talking Week 12, stardoms and situms. Before we can get started on the stardoms and situms, make sure you hit the like button if you like the content, because you have no idea how much it helps, and hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell so you always know when new content comes out and you can get that leg up on those idiots in your fantasy football league. Now, without further ado, let's fill up our cup, roll something up, and get right into the stardoms and situms from Week 12, starting with Thursday night football. That's going to be started with Pittsburgh at Cleveland. First things first, we're going to be starting Russell Wilson against this Cleveland Browns defense. They are susceptible to deep plays, and you're looking at Cleveland's wide receivers also being in play for startability this week. They're going to be having a high volume game with no run ability this week against this Pittsburgh wide receiver core, or a Pittsburgh defense. I'm also going to be starting the Pittsburgh's tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Big Muth should have a good chance, especially have a good chance to hit pay dirt this week. I'm also going to be starting Pittsburgh's defense against this Cleveland Browns offense. Even though I'm going to be looking at Jameis Winston potentially going to be able to get get his stats in garbage time, I don't think Jameis Winston is really going to be serviceable this week against that stout Steelers defense. You're looking at Najee Harris also being sittable this week. At least temper your expectations on Najee Harris. You're looking at Pittsburgh going to have to throw a lot more against this defense, and Cleveland's defense does handle the run well. Also, you're looking at Nick Chubb not really being startable or serviceable this week. It's really hard to do much against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I'm sitting David Njoku as well. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense is just that damn good. I'm not really going to be testing anybody against them this week. Now, moving on into Sunday, that 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time. And before we get into that start time, make sure you check out this Sunday's live pregame NFL kickoff show, live coming to you at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time or 11:30 Eastern Standard Time as well, for you to be about an hour and a half before the games, giving you all the information you need, that last-minute lineup advice, hopefully some parlays that can pay your rent this month, as well as that last-minute injury advice for the morning games also. Now, moving into those actual morning games, starting out with Tennessee going to Houston, taking on the Texans. We're starting C.J. Stroud. I know he's been kind of on the struggle bus these last few weeks, but Tennessee's defense presents the perfect opportunity for him to have a bounce-back game this week. On the other side of the ball, I will be starting both wide receivers from Tennessee, Calvin Ridley and Westbrook-Ikhine. There's going to be a lot of garbage time production for both of them against this week's secondary that Houston does have. I will be, however, starting Houston's defense. You're looking at Tennessee's offense just really being in shambles in this close-knit division rivalry game. Also, on the other, because of that, I will be sitting Tony Pollard. You're looking at him over the last 2 weeks, really since Will Levis has taken back over as quarterback. They really haven't been kind to Tony Pollard. You're also looking at him having that injured foot, plus playing a top 5 rushing defense. The proof is in the pudding that Tony Pollard might just really not have a good game this week, so stay away from him if you can afford it. Moving on to the next game, we're going to be talking about Minnesota traveling to Chicago and taking on the Bears. I will be starting Cam Akers. He's been getting more attention lately. The Bears struggle versus the run, so I will be plugging Cam Akers into my lineup as a flex option if you need some help with all the bye weeks this week. I'm also going to be starting DJ Moore and Rome Odunze versus this Minnesota defense and their secondary, who does allow a lot of points, and you're looking at them potentially having to throw a lot in this game. I will be starting Minnesota's defense. You're looking at them traveling to Chicago, and they travel well, especially interdivisionally. So I'm looking at Minnesota's defense really being able to shut down this struggling Bears offense. On the other other side of things, we're going to be sitting Sam Darnold. He's really, as I said last week, looked a lot more like Sam Darnold. Really, since week 5, he's struggled. You're looking at Chicago also being not very generous to quarterbacks at all. They allow the least amount of points per game to the quarterback position. I will also be sitting Caleb Williams on the other side of things. With this Minnesota Vikings defense blitzing as much as they do, I think he's going to have a hectic Sunday. I will be staying away from Keenan Allen in this game. I think this game is going to be more for the outside wide receivers, as I mentioned, Romo Dunze and DJ Moore earlier on in this segment here. I will also be staying away from wide receiver Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings. I'm really not looking to chase the points from last week. The Chicago defensive secondary is really stout. So Jordan Addison, I think you're really just banking on hopes and dreams from Jordan Addison as it stands for week 12. Moving on into the next game that we're talking about in the morning, it's going to be the Cowboys taking on the Washington Commanders. Not a terrible amount to talk about here. Looking at Jaden Daniels being started. I'm starting Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. I'll also be starting the Washington Commanders defense. I'll start CeeDee Lamb if I have to, but if you have a better option, and it's hard to have a better option, like I said last week, CeeDee Lamb without Dak Prescott really reminds me of what Tyreek Hill was without Tua Tagovailoa. So if you can afford to get away from CeeDee Lamb, then you might consider taking that as well. I will be sitting Zach Ertz. I just really don't think that he's going to be needed much here in this game. I think it's going to be a running back centric game here, a running offense centric game, and I really think Jaden Daniels is going to get to show off his talents against his struggling division rivals in the Dallas Cowboys. Next game we're talking about is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. You're looking at Patrick Mahomes being a star, and it sounds crazy enough that we're talking about Patrick Mahomes in the start-'em, sit-'em column. Usually he's the quarterback that we talk about, as we don't typically talk about those guaranteed starts. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes has not really performed like a guaranteed start. However, you are looking at Carolina allowing top 6 points per game to the quarterback position this season. So I think Patrick Mahomes definitely has the chance to get right this week. You're looking at Isaiah Pacheco returning this week, and it could be the absolute perfect situation for him to return against a struggling Carolina Panthers defense. You're looking at him potentially having the ability late in the game to ramp up some usage, with the Kansas City Chiefs potentially being able to jump out to a lead early and run the clock out towards the end of the game. I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers are worth a look this week as well. DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy will be getting some good opportunity, especially early on in this game. I think Patrick Mahomes, like I said, is going to have the chance to really get right and start getting into playoff form. I'm looking at Kansas City's defense also kind of fine-tuning themselves, getting into playoff form. They're playing well, and they're playing the Carolina Panthers. What more do I need to say? We are staying away from Chuba Hubbard. You can't run on this defense, and Jonathan Brooks is getting more touches as well, so stay away from Chuba Hubbard. Next game we're talking about is going to be the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins in Miami. We're starting Tua Tagovailoa against this weak-ass New England Patriots defense. I do think Drake May is a sleeper quarterback this way. He's been finding a way to stay fantasy-friendly despite all the turnovers that he does have. I do think that Demario Douglas can do some significant damage with high volume this week in the slot position. Also, I think Hunter Henry is going to be very busy versus a generous Miami Dolphins defense, but I will be starting Miami's defense. They allow a lot of points to the tight end, but they have been getting better throughout the season when it comes to rush defense and shutting down wide receivers. Really, I'm staying away from Jalen Waddle, as I've told you guys before. It's really, he's got to show me something, and he's yet to show me. Really, since I've started staying away from Jalen Waddle, and we really haven't been starting Jalen Waddle since Tua Tagovailoa went out because he was struggling before then as well. Next game we're talking about, we got a couple games left in this morning slate here. Before I get to the rest of them, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to New York, taking on the G-Men, the Giants. We're starting Baker Mayfield this week. If you're looking at the New York Giants, have the tendency to give up big plays. You're also looking at Mike Evans potentially returning to the lineup, and I'm starting Mike Evans if he's healthy. I'm also starting the Tampa Bay running backs. I prefer Bucky Irving over Rashad White. You're looking at Bucky Irving averaging 17 points per game over the last 4 games, and you're looking at Rashad White having double digits in the last 4 games as well. Plus, on top of that, the New York Giants have been very generous to running back this season, so you're looking at that being a nice start for those Tampa Bay Buccaneer running backs. Not much to be talked about on the Giants side. Obviously, we're starting Malik Neighbors, and that's really the only person we truly trust in this offense, and that's if you trust him. Last game we're talking about is going to be the Lions taking on the Indianapolis Colts in their Indiana Knights uniforms. I'm starting Jared Goff this week. You're looking at him playing this susceptible Indianapolis Colts defense that will allow points. So you're looking at Jared Goff being in a good position this week, as well as Amon-Ra, as well as David Montgomery, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a scary game for this defense, who really has been locked down, but the offense has not been helping them out, which has been allowing them to allow a lot of points later on in the game. You're looking at me starting Josh Downs from the Indianapolis Colts. He's averaging 17 points, and he has 2 touchdowns over the last 4 games. You're looking at game script being potentially really in his favor. I think the Lions should probably be leading a lot in this game, needing the Indianapolis Colts to throw a lot, which would also lead you to think Anthony Richardson could get some really good garbage time rush and pass production in this home game against the Detroit Lions. So I like him as a deep quarterback as well. I'm still starting Jonathan Taylor, but I am tempering expectations versus this solid Detroit Lions run defense. Next game we're going to be talking about is going to be in the afternoon. So we're done with all of those morning games. Moving on into that 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time or 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time slate. We got the Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in the long-standing rivalry. I'm starting Bo Nix. I'm a Bo Lever. I've been telling you guys for weeks. He's averaging over 21.5 points over the last 7 games, and he's got 6 touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 2 games. You're looking at this game being a game against a very weak Las Vegas Raiders defense. So everything is really written in the sky for Bo Nix to have an absolutely beautiful game this week. I will also be starting the Denver Broncos defense against the susceptible Las Vegas Raiders offense. I will be sitting pretty much anybody that's running the ball for the Las Vegas Raiders, unless you are absolutely in a pinch. They may get volume, whether it's Amir Abdullah, whether Zamir White plays. It's not going to be pretty. I'm telling you, you don't want to hope to be relying on one of those 2 running backs this week. Next game we're talking about is going to be the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Seattle Seahawks. We got Kyler Murray is going to be an obvious start for us this week, as well as Marvin Harrison Jr. I will also be starting this Arizona Cardinals defense and special teams. I'm sitting Geno Smith. You're looking at this defense from the Cardinals playing extremely well, and I don't really want to chase the points from Geno Smith that he put up in Week 11. Not really much to be talked about in this offense. There's a lot of obvious starters, not really many fringe flex players here in this matchup. Next game and last game in the afternoon is going to be the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers. We're starting Brock Purdy. I pretty much, obviously, we're starting Christian McCaffrey. It's obvious who we're starting here. One of the players that we do want to be staying away from is going to be Deebo Samuel. He's been barely playable. He's the wide receiver 40 at this moment. The Green Bay Packers defense plays pretty well, especially in Green Bay. I'm staying away from him if I can afford it. I'm also staying away from Christian Watson. This offense is struggling right now, and you're looking at there's too many mouths to feed in this offense. I'm staying away from Tucker Kraft. I'm tempering expectations on Jaden Reed, but he's really the only Packers receiver that I really trust with starting in this game. But going back to Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, like I said, there's too many mouths to feed. I'm staying away from them. And you're looking at Tucker Kraft not being really in a great spot at all, with the wide receivers being healthy, with there being so many mouths to feed. So I don't like it for Tucker Kraft. There has to be a better option in the tight end position for you this week. Moving on to Sunday Night Football, we're waiting all day to watch the Philadelphia Eagles to take on the Los Angeles Rams. We're starting Jalen Hurts. We're starting Saquon. We're starting A.J. Brown. A lot of obvious starts here. I think Matt Stafford is going to be a sleeper. This Philadelphia defense does allow a lot of points. They do also allow high volume. And you're looking at Matt Stafford also being in a high-volume offense with this healthy wide receiver core being back. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp are back. We're starting them, obviously. I do think the Philadelphia defense will be startable as well this week, but I think there could be a couple of better options. They're kind of, I think, my defense number 12 this week. They're the bottom of the barrel of defense I truly want to start this week. Staying away from Dallas Goedert as well in the tight end position. Your mind is telling you that you really want to start him, but in reality, there's really no reason we need to be starting Dallas Goedert at this current moment. There have to be better options that have higher upsides and better, safer floors than what Dallas Goedert presents at this current moment in the season. And then last but not least, we're talking about Monday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. We're starting Lamar Jackson. We're starting Derrick Henry. Very obvious. Starting J.K. Dobbins. I'll even throw Zay Flowers into my starting position this week. I do think the wide receivers from the Chargers, Quentin Johnson and Lade McConkey, should get great volume this week, which would lead to really good production in your flex or wide receiver 2 position. And I do think Will Dissly really should be started in every format this week. I think he's a top 6 tight end at worst this week. You're looking at his role right now, this offense being such an improved offense at this state of the season. So I think Will Dissly can definitely be the answer that you need at your tight end position. But who you not should be looking to at the tight end position is going to be Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens. You're looking at them just recently shutting down a good tight end last week. You're looking at Mark Andrews not being really involved in the offense at the level that we thought he was going to be, at the amount we thought he was going to be. So I'm staying away from Mark Andrews until further notice. That's going to do it for today's Startums and Situms for Week 12. Good luck in your matchups this week. And everybody, make sure you always keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Thank you.